Hello everyone, this side Ridhima Chabra, meeting you again. I have been working as a technical recruiter recently, and prior to that, I was working with Gojek and Swiggy, and currently I'm employed with Pillow. So let's get started quickly on today's topic. That is mainly, first of all, that stands on to like a very basic thing that is needed for any job application. So, today's agenda stands as how to build a resume for IT jobs, specifically for freshers and experienced candidates. So, this is mainly a discussion which is like a very basic and a raw discussion, and which is like a very important topic for any job. If you have to apply for anything, either it's IT, either it's out of IT, you need a resume. So let's go further. And the points that will be covered today, that will be what are the basic details to be added to the resume. It will be like covering the very basic things that has to be there, and then further some rules to follow for any resume. No matter if it's a fresher or it's an experienced resume, we need to follow those rules. And then further specific points for a fresher candidate resume considering IT, and then specific points for experienced candidate. So fresher and experience, there are different particular things that we have to keep a note of in a resume. So I'll cover on the IT perspective for now, which will be about all the things that you should be mentioning and how to really create that, what all you have to keep in mind. So, in some brownie points at the end, and those brownie points are nothing but it's more in terms of how to really reflect out your resume and what you have to really do, a kind of research. So, we'll discuss that at a later stage at the end of the topic. So, without taking much of time, we'll start with the main thing, that what are the basic details to be added to the resume. Like, what are the basic things that comes to your mind when you think about a resume is what but a thing that will go to a person. Instead of you speaking, your resume has to speak. So first of all, name and contact information, as that is like a very very important thing. If you have got a short list or if we have to contact you, so all the recruiters will firstly look at the contact information itself, and that will really include email address, phone number, and then definitely these are some of the things that they are going to contact you through. So these stands as a very basic thing that has to be there in the top. And then a bit of summary or objective. When I say summary or objective, that basically means what you have been doing. No matter if you're a fresher or an experienced person, you have to just mention a summary, like what you are. For example, it's for a software developer. In that case, you are supposed to mention, like, yeah, I'm working as a software developer. I love to play with the apps. I love to play with mobile, or I'm a web developer. So in software developer also there are a lot of streams. So you have to mention that stream in the summary, that what you have been doing and what you are aspiring to be. So then education specifically again stands as the main thing, as sometimes specifically for a fresher person, education is something which is very important, that any recruiter will see, that what are the percentage, what are the scores, what college you are coming from, and what is a kind of education, maybe BTech you have done. So what is there specifically, what was the major in the BTech. So all of these education details remains very important point for any fresher resume, or even for experienced candidates. Sometimes a recruiter look at that. And then the professional history, showcase the keywords for the work you have done. So when I say showcase the keywords, that basically stands off like, you don't have to write paragraphs. Like if you have done a particular job in a particular company, you're not supposed to write a big paragraph for the same. Just write some keywords that will really reflect what you all have done in that particular duration in the company. So those keywords will help the recruiter to really screen it better. And then skill set, or the tools you have used, or add the frameworks you have experience with. So specifically, the skill set is something that you have to mention at a separate. Just create a separate column for the same. Don't add it within the paragraphs or within the other part of the resume. Just create a separate blog, a separate dialog box. In that itself, you have to mention that, for example, you have experience with programming language as Java. Right, Java. What frameworks you have used with that? MongoDB. So just mention some programming language and the skill set that you have, or something that you feel that this is has to be there, as it's in the JD. The main requirement stands to that. We'll discuss about that in a later stage. So references. Sometimes for some of the roles, references stays as a very important thing, as if you're applying for a role which is actually a kind of something related to payroll. So this is something very confidential for a company. So then they'll really require references. So whatever role you really apply for, IT payroll maybe. That also is something that they'll ask for references. So check for the role that you are applying for and check for the need. If they really require it, just go ahead and add it, edit it, and then add it. And then only upload the resume. And then the projects. So some of the people have, specifically a fresher, they would have done some projects during their college time. So that will really stand as a thing that, okay, if you have experience in that particular stream, what a recruiter is looking at, or what a recruiter wants to hire, have you done projects into that stream? So just make sure to add those two. And then achievements or any volunteer work, make sure to add only relevant one. I have seen people adding like a lot of things, achievements or volunteer work, but we only require the ones which is relevant to the job that you're applying for. So if you have suppose you have done a volunteer work into training some junior software developers, go ahead and mention it as if you are applying for a software developer. That is going to give a sense that, okay, you are a person who likes to mentor people and you have a chance to become a manager if you are applying for a manager role. So that will really add on to that point too. Then languages that you speak. So languages really stands as a thing, as if, for example, you are applying for a role and a recruiter who is actually well versed with the language that you are well versed with, only that recruiter will call you. So this is really important thing then also. For the some rules to follow for any resume, no matter fresher, no matter experienced. So you are supposed to keep it one pager. Try to keep it one pager. Don't extend it to 2 3 pages, as it is kind of a being said case that, yeah, recruiter gets a lot of resumes, so they are supposed to really look at a resume at a glance and not just scrolling between the places, and even they can't really go ahead and read the descriptions a lot. So just make sure that you are keeping it short, crisp, and a one pager thing. And then add keywords instead of paragraphs that I discussed earlier. You are not supposed to add the descriptions very detailed one. That is something that is being discussed on the recruiter phone call that will happen after the resume shortlist. So this is what you can discuss over a call, or this is what you can really mention during the interviews. Instead of adding it to the resume, just add the keywords that are going to depict what you have done in total. And then add the details which are relevant to the job. So you are supposed to actually alter your resume as per the job you're applying for. I've seen people really applying to the jobs directly, not even editing it before applying. So that again stands as the main point for your resume to get shortlisted. So you have to really alter it as per the job you're applying for. Highlight the unique achievements. So if you have done something very unique and out of the box, go ahead and highlight it. Present it to them so that it's not really mixed up in all other details. It's actually noticeable on the resume. And then separate area to really present the skills, especially basically the ones which are mentioned in the JD. For example, it's clearly mentioned in the JD that we are looking at somebody who is experienced with Java. Go ahead and highlight Java, specifically mention in the separate dialog box the skill set, and then you can really increase the text for Java or maybe highlight Java in different color. Then make it easier for a recruiter to gauge your experience details. So don't really mix up on the projects and work experience. I have seen people really mixing up the timelines for that. Make sure the timelines for work experience are separate and very clear, and the projects timeline, if you have any, just go ahead and mention clearly that these are the projects and these are the timelines for the same. Don't mix up those. So these are very important points, which are some of the rules that you are supposed to follow. And then the language. As I said, this is very necessary for that a recruiter, so that the recruiter who is well versed with the language you speak will really call you, and then you can go ahead and discuss further. Then comes the specific points for a fresher candidate, specifically for IT roles. So you see, you have to really mention the project's detail, which is like very important. This is very important for a person who is a fresher, and they are really supposed to mention in the resume something. If they are, for example, they don't have a work experience for now, so they definitely have project experience. So that project experience is going to give you extra edge over other candidates, as those projects are going to tell that you have done work which a company is really asking for. Then add the programming language you have experience with, specifically the ones you have used in the projects. So for example, you are mentioning about a project that you have done, go ahead and add the tech stacks that you have worked with, add the language you have used there, add the database that you have used there, frameworks, tools or frameworks that you have used there. So that is going to give a sense that, okay, this person really matches the requirement, as they have experience with the language that we are also working with. So this is very important to mention, specifically on the project front, specifically on the work front, the project stuff stands there. Plus, go ahead and mention your achievements. So, this is something which is going to come. Like, for example, if you have taken part in any competitive exam, and which is exceptional thing, and you have scored really well, go ahead and mention about the scores. Go ahead and mention about the exams that you have been part of, so that it's going to show that okay, you are actually actively participating in the community for that. And be clear on the education details and add the percentages, very clear on what you have done, what were the scores, what were the CGPAs or percentage, whatever it is. Go ahead and mention it clearly that this was my major, this was my degree specifically. And then you have to really give a quick summary of what you really aspire to be. So, for a person who is actually looking at roles at the starting stage, you have to really mention that why you chose this role and what you really want to, what you really aspire to be. That is going to give a sense in terms of the role that you are applying for, even for a recruiter, even for the company. They'll see that, okay, this is what the person looks at a point of time, and we have to really match those expectations. So, this is for you that the company is going to match those expectations that you really want to stand on. So it is important to mention that a one liner in the summary would really work for that. So anything which is relevant to the job you are applying for and you have done something related to that, feel free to mention it in your resume, including the work that you did, volunteer work. Some people do the volunteer work during the college times. They are a mentor or they are working as a placement coordinators, most of the people. So go ahead and mention about it, so that it's going to show that you are actively participating in the leadership work or the community in the college too. Then further, if you have done any internships, very important, don't forget to mention it. As internships is very like, it's going to give you extra edge for sure. As if you have done the work already, which the person is ready, the recruiter is also looking at. So it's going to give you a lot of experience, first of all, that yes, I have done it already. And then while talking to the recruiter, also you'll feel a bit confident that yes, I have done the work and this is what is being expected from me. If the recruiter will feel that yes, the person has been at that front at a point of time, it will be easy to handle the person and directly bring it to the work. So if you have done any internships, go ahead and mention it directly. It's going to give you extra edge for sure. Then specific points for experienced candidate. So it is like very similar, not very different, but you have to really mention on the companies you have worked for, the duration you have worked for, and the work details mainly. You have to mention it very clearly. This is going to decide on the experience range. For example, if a recruiter is looking at 4 years of experience, and they'll really check if the person really matches the experience range or not. And then what is the work that a recruiter is really looking at. So you are supposed to mention a bit of description of the work that you have already done, the duration that you have spent in the company. As for us, duration also stands as a very important point, as we'll see that this much time you were there in the company, these were the projects that you have done in that duration. What were the value that you have bring to the table for that company itself? So go ahead and mention a bit of description on the same, the tech stacks that you have experience with. That is again very very important front. And then simply don't forget to add any references that you have. So it actually depends on the role that you are applying for, as I said in the beginning. But if it is already said in the JD that if references are welcomed, or like if you have any references, go ahead and mention it. So in your resume, create a section of references and add the numbers and the names. So if you feel like okay, I'll really pass it on at a later stage, so go ahead and do it, not a big deal. But some of the roles really ask for it, and if they really ask for it, just go ahead and mention it in your resume itself. And further, add a one liner for every experience with the language and the framework you have used in that particular company for the work. So sometimes I have seen people have really added a section, different section for skills, but they haven't mentioned in the experience thing. Whenever they mention about a company, for example, the company name, the description, add a liner, one liner, which will talk about tech stack. So tech stack that you have used in that particular company. So this stands for every experience that you have got, and add the tech stack, add the framework tools and stuff that you have used. So this is going to give a sense to a recruiter that recently the very current company that you were working with, were you using the tool or were you using the tech stack that they want. So, or if you have worked with that particular tech stack previously. So this is very important that you are mentioning the specific one-liner tech stack that you have used in that particular company. So for experienced candidate, uh, mainly the experience, whatever you have done, the achievements and stuff during that duration really stands as a very important point. Make sure to create a liner of achievements, and then you can add bullet points of the achievements that you have got, and mainly on the experience front. So pretty much similar, add the basic details that we added earlier, and then this is what you can really look at. Further, some brownie points that I was really talking about. So the brownie points are like how to really get your resume shortlisted. So you have followed all the basic rules. You have added it as per the description that was required, experience and stuff, any section that was required, you have added already. So you have to really research on the company before applying. So if you're applying for a particular company and you don't really get on the vision and mission of the company, that what they really want, so this is something that you will feel that the resume may not get shortlisted over the other candidates. So you have to really add the pointers which are already mentioned in the job description in your CV. For example, in the job description, something is said like we want somebody who have managed a like who have managed a team. Go ahead and mention in your resume that I was really managing this many people in my company, and highlight that point. So this is something which is going to give you extra edge. And then add some new hobbies or interests that you have and that resonates with the company goal. Some companies really look at like sustainability as a main goal, vision or mission, which are like a volunteer work also. And if you have done something into that, go ahead and mention it as a volunteer work. Or if not that, if you have any hobbies or interest that resonates with what the company is doing, or maybe the people who are already there in the company, they are also having similar interest, go ahead and mention it, as that is going to give thing on the cultural perspective. That is also something is that is being checked during the rounds. So this is something which we feel that yeah, this is an extra edge candidate, this is extra or better candidate than the other ones. So this is going to give you a kind of a brownie points over any other resume which is being there. So this is pretty much there for today, like what you are supposed to go ahead with, what are the basic details, what are the things that you have to really mention. So I hope these details will really help you to create a new resume. And along with that, just keep the pointers that I have mentioned already. And I think you will just kickstart the search, and all the best for your job search also. Thank you so much. Have a good day.